Good morning, everybody. How are you doing this morning? Outstanding. Well, coming back to the closing process of the short courses here, and I just want to express, Eric has talked about safety, that we've done, and here I'm going to talk about the real life, real consequences that the contractors, TxDOT, anybody out there working out on the county road, FM road, interstate, so forth. A lot of the things that you're going to encounter, that we encounter, and some of the things I'm going to talk about today is the things that Lane Construction has progressed forward, and it's all free training that you can get online or go to a TEACS training class and so forth. That's actually really brings out some really meaningful stuff to you to help keep the crews safe. And I'm going to go through. Let's see. All right, Christy got it. All right, this is a little bit of background from myself here. Like I said, and everybody makes fun of me, especially guys at work. I have about 50 initials behind my name, and everybody makes fun. I have a book, about a 4-inch binder of every certification I have. Like I said, recently I got appointed to the Texas Division of Emergency Management, to the training commission there. What I do is actually help, I go through there and help come up with new training programs for the emergency management office and so forth. Got a co-show from TEACS. Like I said, you name it, I do it there. So, Lane Construction, 35 is very kind of a dangerous highway right there. Everywhere from going through, I'd say from Hillsboro all the way to Salado is pretty much in the construction zone right there. And you got barrier walls going, north and southbound right there. So what we did, Lane Construction, you always get those accidents that you see out there, and usually my goal is, if I get called out there to an accident, my goal is usually try to get an accident at least cleared and off the highway within 20 minutes. If not, that's usually whenever we'll usually have another accident behind that one due to the queue of that accident. So usually our goal is have a accident cleared within 20 minutes. What we do sometimes is we'll actually, I'll call up DPS and tell them, hey, we got an accident here. We're able to pull the vehicles off. So we have some of our construction vehicles, we actually have tow ropes and tow chains, and we'll try to pull that vehicle off to a safe location just to get the highway back open. That way it's safer for the traveling motor public. Right now, Lane Construction, we have 2 employees that we work that are on staff there, and we're on call 24 hours a day, 365 days a week there. And what it is we pretty much can handle anything. You can see we do bridge failure due to an accident, flooding, traffic control for accident scenes, and we actually, if we have a major incident there, the emergency management office comes out with their trailer, or the captain with highway patrol will come out, and usually myself or somebody else will attach ourselves to that person. That way, if he needs something from the contractor or somebody, we got it right there. We can get a hold of somebody, if we need a piece of equipment or if we need additional traffic control, barrels and so forth. That way it just makes it a lot more safer for the traveling public, for the workers, for the emergency first responders and so forth. And we actually, as you can see, this is I-35 southbound trailer had flipped over, and you see our piece of equipment right there that we're trying to help flip over. And that's a great working relationship. It's part of the entire communication process. It's just communicating with law enforcement, first responders, TxDOT, and so forth. That way we can help get that highway open longer, because if we end up waiting for a tow truck half the time, usually they're stuck back in the traffic, and it's an additional 30 minutes before they can even get on scene. But if we have a piece of equipment that's in that area, we're going to utilize that piece of equipment to help get that accident scene clear. And that's whenever we have an account set up with TxDOT, a force account, to where we use a large vehicle removal. We can actually put that in there to actually help minimize the lane closures due to an accident. One thing that we do here that I think it's a great idea is we have what's called a vehicle spill kit, and it actually helps whenever every supervisor and foreman has that spill kit in their trailers and also in their vehicles. The usual cost for that spill kit is about $35. It has socks in there, it has actually little pads and so forth, and that way, because if we come across the accident there, there's half the time we're going to have fuel on the ground and so forth. Well, we can actually minimize having that hazardous materials, in other words, oil, gas, or anything, spreading across the highway. We're going to get those pads out there. That way it helps minimize the cleanup of the material there. That way we don't have to call environmental control to come out there to sweep up the highway and so forth. And usually if it's 24.99 gallons or lower, we can handle it ourselves. But if it's any higher than that, if it's 25 gallons or higher, that's when we call the environmental that way, and we'll call TCEQ and let them know it's like, hey, we got this spill out here. This is what's doing to be, cleaned up and so forth, just to keep them in a loop right there. That way, it just makes so much things easier. Now, one thing that we do is that we've done is it's called safe and effective use for law enforcement personnel in work zones. And one thing I do actually is I've gotten the opportunity to go around to almost every department, every police department in Central Texas, including Houston, San Antonio, and so forth. And what I did is I actually trained the officers to how to safely work in work zones, because we got the lane closures and so forth. And so far we have. Actually, it shows 948 law enforcement officers that's trained so far in that, but it's a little bit more. But what it is, it teaches them, hey, to work in that queue area, whatever officer is working at the rear section of that lane closure, they're going to be watching the traffic and so forth. And anytime that we actually have a major high-impact lane closure, one thing I can't stress is communication. What we do there at our Waco office, we'll get with all the police departments, the fire departments, EMS, DPS, and everybody. We'll have a meeting before that lane closure. TxDOT will be there. Their information, Jody Whitley, their information specialist, she'll be there so she can get that information out on the highway. But what it is we take everything into account. We actually think, all right, well, if we have a incident here, let's reroute the traffic over here. So one thing that I always stress to everybody is communication. That's one of the top priorities, because if you don't communicate with somebody's going to miss something, and then the whole thing's just going to go down the drain. But one thing I suggest highly is out on the projects is, build up that relationship with the law enforcement, fire departments, EMS, and everybody. And it works tremendously, because anytime we have, like if we need to do let's say what's called a slow roll on the highway just to be able to pick up some debris, I can on the phone call the police department, and they're out there, they're going to assist us, because everybody knows that usually we'll be out on the highway or so forth. A lot of the traveling public doesn't care. They'll see our lights and stuff, and they'll still practically run us over. But if we have the law enforcement out there, and they'll actually do enforcement for us, and especially during the lane closures at night, at the end of that lane closure, what they'll do is they'll have the enforcement officers waiting, after individuals pass that work zone area, the enforcement officers be waiting for them, all right, why didn't you scoot over? Why are you speeding through the work zone and so forth? But it's great having those enforcement officers out there to help, minimize any type of dangers out there. Like I said, some of the things that we do, this is one of the accidents we've had out there on 35 there due to a fire. And this was out northbound 35 in Bruceville Eddy there. And like I said, it's great having that working relationship with everybody. And one of the things, everybody knows that a lot of the law enforcement officers, especially at first, some of them, they just sit in their car, and half the time in the evening time, most of the time they're either watching Netflix on a TV there in their car, or asleep and stuff like that, and it's easy money for them there. I mean, it's just, I hate to say it, it gets bored sitting out on the highway being in law enforcement and not doing anything. So like I said, half the time they're just watching TV, but now they're kind of catching on. It's like, hey, I got a job, I got a role that I got to do, because I show them all types of liability that they stand for, that if something happens, hey, they're part of the situation right there. And like I said, it's just one thing that you got to stress to the law enforcement officers out there. Hey, you got a major role because you're out there protecting all the workers out there, and you need to work with that traffic queue out there. I'm pretty sure everybody's seen this right here. This always hits home right here. It's the fatalities calendar. This is the 2013 fatalities calendar right here. And in Texas, as you know, hasn't been a deathless day here in Texas in many years. And this is kind of the crash highlights. You can actually go to your website there, to the TxDOT website, and get this and download it. This is kind of the highlight right here. In 2013, 15,095 work zone injuries, 10,925 non-injury crashes in work zones in Texas. And in 2013, they had 115 work zone deaths. And just to narrow it down, one person was killed every 2 hours and 36 minutes. One person was injured every 2 minutes and 16 seconds. And there's one reportable crash that occurred every 71 seconds. And that's just amazing, just looking at the numbers there. And if you ever get a chance, please go and download it and just have that. Like I said, I use this in all my classes that I teach at law enforcement to express, hey, and I give them that sheet. They hold it because I want them to know, hey, this is real life out here, and everything that you do has consequences out there. So I love giving that sheet to every student in all my classes there. And this actually, all these pictures have happened in the Waco district area. This picture right here was southbound 35 in the Elmont area. It's just north of Waco. And a lot of the helpful sites there, a lot of people don't know. And one thing that I get to do is I try to go out with TxDOT whenever we was at, matter of fact, at the Heart of Texas Fairs, we got to help them out. We got to go to my35.org. I always tell people, go to these websites, and it definitely helps. This right here is going to be a short little video right here. 3 fatalities that happened at the New York State there. And this actually happened in the work zone.
We had a lane closure set up. We were doing work on a bridge deck. There was a tour bus that was traveling into the work zone, and from what I understand, the bus was traveling at a high rate of speed. When the bus had reached the area where the work was going on, there were vehicles in front of that bus that the bus slammed into the back of, because the bus was going much quicker than the vehicles in front of him. And from what I understand, the bus had ricocheted off of the vehicles in front of him and into our work zone, striking the three workers.
Pretty much the only thing that saved my life was the screeching tires, because if I didn't hear that, by the time the bus hit the tractor trailer, I would have looked up, and by that time he would have already been in the work zone and struck the truck, and I would have been right in front of it. Finally, I heard everything stop screeching and metal crunching and everything else, and I walked up over the hill, and that's when I seen all the carnage, and that wasn't a good sight. You try to forget it, but even you could be having dinner or talking with your friends or whatever, and you still have the flashbacks. They still come up. I mean, you can't really do anything about it. You can talk to counselors about it and stuff, but it's still there, and it'll probably always be there.
And Wayne was very, very humorous. He made everybody laugh. I watched him grow from a little guy, sprouted right up. He got into the business of working construction pretty much the same way I did, following Dad's footsteps. I have a picture of Wayne in my truck, and I look at him all the time. Every morning I tell him I love him. And I know he's listening. And I know he wants me to take care of his boys, too. That's what love is right there, when you love your brother that much. Usually we're out there working together, Wayne and I, side by side. Side by side. I wasn't there on the site when that happened. I was just down the highway, probably about 5 miles, and I heard the ambulance. And I said, something bad happened. You know, and I had a funny feeling that day too, I really did.
When I was at work, and I heard it come over the radio that an accident happened on that exit. I knew it was his exit that he was on, and then I got a phone call, and I got the phone call to confirm it, confirming that he was hurt, to go to the hospital. The morning of the accident, he went off to work, and I remember him giving me a kiss on my cheek goodbye, and going out the door, and with a smile on his face, and that's the last I saw him. The only way they identified my husband was the tattoo he had on his heart had my name on it, and they just came out and asked who was Rebecca. Horrible for me and the boys that we had to go through all that. The day after the funeral, my son wanted to go back to playing baseball. That's what he loved to do. Towards the last couple innings, I realized he was shooting a no-hitter, and he must have just been thinking about my husband. He's watching over him because he's taking his deep breath, and he threw every pitch in there perfect and got his no-hitter.
It was exciting. It was like a World Series. That's what it felt like to me, watching the Yankees. I look around and I can see it in people's faces, you know, that he was on his game. Because we knew what it was for. That one was for his dad. And I'm sure his dad was watching. When people don't realize how dangerous it is out there, the motorists, they don't realize. Tough place to work. Being brushed by cars within inches of your elbows, hitting, you know, cars going 65 miles an hour. When you're driving a car out there, it's just like a weapon. It only takes one time to go through there fast to kill someone. That's all it takes. And then it's too late. We're all vulnerable out there. When you see those signs, please, slow down. And we'll all feel better if you do. We'll all be able to go home to our families. Unfortunately, my brother won't. Just give us that little bit of time, 60 seconds, to slow down in a work area. Please.
And that was courtesy of the New York State Department of Transportation right there. And like I said, we got real life, real consequences out there. And we're all out there. We all, you know, we've been out there. We know how it is out there.